Well, hello, short talk at Dripping Springs recreational area with an old guy. This is a little trail leads up to Dripping Springs, and I don't know that I'm going to walk all the way up. It's about a mile up. I was just behind the mountain today, and I thought, well, heck, when was the last time I came up here? It's a $5 fee to park, no overnight camping, etc., yada yada. I got to tell you this story. This is crazy. You come into the parking area, right? There's a little ranger station, or some guy wearing a hat makes him look like a cop or something, I don't know. And so when I'm buying a burrito at a job site, and the lady wants to sell me a chorizo and egg burrito, she's got a way in her truck there where she can sell me stuff on a credit card. Hey, how are you folks today? Nice day for a walk, ain't it? Yeah. And so you get up to Dripping Springs, you better have some greenbacks in your pocket. These guys don't have any way to do a credit transaction. And I thought, what? I mean, get with the program, guys. Get the lead out. But anyhow, I'm hoping the wind doesn't flutter too much on the mic. Because lots of times I'll listen to these things I make in the wind and I think, get rid of it. Anyway, I just wanted a brief response to a question. Cindy is one of my viewers. She asked on one of my videos having to do with the job. We were looking at some stuff the other day. How did you become a plumber? And it's a strange story, but not that bizarre. I tell young people, if you're trying to figure out what it is you're doing for a living in your life, first of all, you got to shed the idea. A lot of Christians try to blow smoke up your, you know what, with, I believe the Lord's calling me into, shoe sales or something like that. And I don't think God does that. I really don't. I think what he does is says, go and do what you do well. Look at these hills. I love that rock up there. Hey guys, how are you today? Sure is nice view. Oh my gosh, yeah, so anyhow, people blow smoke up the hoo-hoo of young people by telling them they could be anything they want, which is frankly a lie. But kids aren't wise to that. The real answer is find something that you can do that's not going to drive you permanently crazy. Try to find something that you can do at the end of the day you feel like, well, I achieved something and I'm glad I did it. So when I was in high school, I had no idea, like zero, what I was doing later on in my life. And frankly, I wasn't that excited to find out. It's just like, I was not crazy about being here on this world, I'll tell you that. And I was just sitting there thinking, I have no idea why I'm even here. What are we doing here? And so people would ask, well, what are you going to do after school? In the 30s, there were these guys, they were called, well, we used to call them, when I was a kid, bums, B-U-M. The modern word, the modern equivalent would be homeless. And they used to live in the 30s in what was called Hoovervilles. Herbert Hoover had been the president from, I believe, 28 to 32. And so the Great Depression hit and everyone blamed Hoover. So these places where all the homeless people lived were called Hoovervilles. And they were bums who lived there. And it was like a little community, mostly all men. And so I thought, well, I'll probably be a bum, B-U-M. People would say, a plumber? Oh, well, that's a pretty good idea. And I didn't bother to correct them. That happened several times. So maybe I have issues with announcing that. But at any rate, I got out of the military and just decided for sure, here's my answer going to be not what I feel I'm being called to by some, direct inner magnetic connection where I recognize, I see it now. I should arrange flowers for a living or something. No, it's the other way. I found out what I really hate. I found out what I can hardly stand doing. I'm just looking at this tank. I have no idea what that is. This tree, boy, it's had a rough life. Wonder what happened to all the bark and stuff. It's weird because it looks diseased. Still branching out. Just wanted to sit right here because it's a nice little rock. Hey, how are you guys? So it's a nice view up there. I don't think I'm going to go as far as the spring today. I'll deal with it later. But how did I become a plumber? Almost by accident, as a matter of fact. I got out of the military and I decided, boy, I'll tell you what I never want to do again. I never want to work for the government. I never want to work for a huge corporation. Forget it. I just hate that bureaucratic thinking that it puts your brain to sleep. It makes you stupid. And I thought, I'm stupid enough. I don't think we need to encourage that. And so anyhow, I like this little knob right up here. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Kind of looks like a little thumbnail. I mean, somebody's thumb sticking up out of that rock, or top of somebody's head, the back of their head. Anyway, if you just sit here and just kind of use your imagination, you can look at these rock faces. It's a little bit like looking at clouds. You can start seeing things in them. Like I see a face over there. I see what looks a little bit like, if you squint, a bulldog over here, and things like that. And anyhow, I determined pretty clearly in my mind, these are the things I don't want. This is the sort of life I don't want. And so that just cut out an awful lot of options, because when adults are blowing smoke up the rear ends of people who happen to be young, telling them they can do anything they want, well, and then the young people take this up with this, ugh. Have you ever heard people saying, follow your passion? If you're not doing what you absolutely love, then you're wasting your time. Nah, that ain't right at all. You're a knucklehead. And the reality is you do what you can do, and then once you have a position, then you look for a position you like better. You go from job to job. You don't go from unemployment for the last 36 years to your first job once you finally realize from your inner gypsy which direction you're headed. So I decided I wanted nothing to do with tech. I wanted nothing to do with computers. I wanted nothing to do with the government. I wanted nothing to do with the state government. I wanted nothing to do with huge corporations. So you see, we just crossed a whole lot of those infinite choices off the list now, didn't we? And now you've got a list that you can begin to look at. Now we're only talking about 100 different professions, not 10,000. And then I began to think, oh, okay, well, I want something that I want, let's say, I want to be working with my hands. I want to do something where, at the end of the day, you feel like what you did will stay put, and if you come back tomorrow and look at it, it didn't move and it didn't disappear. Just filling out papers and shoveling stuff. We used to do a job in the military. It was a telecommunications is what it was called. And it was basically like sending telegrams. But I mean, we were in 1979, we were still using punch tape. I mean, literally punch tape and punch cards. Ugh. IBM punch cards. Ugh. And boy, I just found out real quick that dealing with computers was like dealing with an idiot monkey that just never learns. And I just thought, ugh, why would anyone want to do that? Ugh, talk about frustrating. And so I got out and I got into doing some manual labor, doing Adobe work for a guy named Tom Ash, another guy named, I believe his name was Tom Knight. I think that, anyway, doing Adobe work, just, moving brick and stuff, help lay up block. We did a little bit of tile work and a bunch of different, hey guys, how are you today?
Good,
fine, just admiring the view.
Yeah.
I like all the shadows too, the way the clouds make it all change up. And so there's a couple of young ladies who came down a minute ago, and they told me that there's a bunch of muley deer up there, mule deer. We call them muleys, and up there by the water. And I think I'm going to skip that. That's another half-mile walk. I still need to do stuff in town. But the way that I became a plumber is almost on accident. But the key to this, figuring this out, is to separate it out of your mind. Just lose the idea that I'm looking for God's calling on my life. Like as if God's going to, send you a telegram? Go become a vacuum cleaner salesman or something like that. No, he doesn't do that. What he does is he asks you to find work which is meaningful to you, whereby you and the community around you will profit, and whereby the work that you do you can be proud of, that you're glad you did it. And if you like computer stuff, well, good for you. If you like electronic stuff, good for you. For me, I just consider electricity to be a form of voodoo. Now, you've seen these hills before from some of my other videos, but this does look different now, doesn't it? By the way, the organ part, O-R-G-A-N, that has nothing to do with livers or kidneys or anything. It has to do with pipe organs, and that's rather fanciful in my opinion. But somebody once upon a time decided that these peaks, hi guys, appear a little bit like organ pipes. Now organ music was a kind of a hot item in churches for like ever. Then it's basically gone away in the last 30 years. I guess there's probably a few churches that still have organs here and there, but organs used to be the stuff. And if you didn't have a pipe organ, then your church was a gang of amateurs, you know what I mean? And so pipe organs, it was a big deal 50 or 80 years ago, I guess. And I don't even know when these mountains were named, but I'm guessing it was in the 1800s, making that up. It was the Spaniards who came through here first from the south. They came up the river valley, and the original settlement in this area was called Mesilla, and Las Cruces was a later addition. Now, Las Cruces is significantly bigger than Mesilla, but they both still exist. And so how did I become a plumber? Well, mainly I found out what I didn't want to do. And if you can deal with problems that way, well, good for you. I hope that's helpful for you, especially if you're a young person, because don't fall into the trap of thinking that it's God who's telling you that you have to become a salesman, or you have to become a jackhammer operator, or you have to become a painter or whatever. You follow the strengths you have, follow the inclinations you have, and then find those things that when you get done doing them, you think, well, I'm glad that's behind me. I'm glad we made that happen, because that's permanent. It'll stay put, and people will benefit from that for a long time. So go put in a shower valve for somebody, see how you like it. You might just absolutely hate it. Go in and rewire somebody's lights for them if you can, and hope you don't fry yourself. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't even want to know how to turn on a computer. Forget it. I hate computers, and I think they hate me back. I got to tell you a little story. You go through the Albertsons. This happens to me. 8 or 9 people. And by the way, if it's the self-checkout option, I will always choose the option where there's a lady or somebody back there, a human being that I can deal with. Because it's like, computers. So at any rate, I'm checking out, and person after person, all of a sudden I get there. Screech, halt. And the lady starts making comments like this. Well, I don't understand this. This has been working fine all day. Why would it suddenly seize up? And it's like, I think I know why. And I've looked this up, so it's got to be real. You can look it up on Google. And there are people like me. I can't wear a wristwatch, for instance. They just don't run right on me. They don't keep time properly. And computers just seize up when I'm around. So I think not only do I hate them, but I think the feeling's mutual, And so I found my way into this trade, and now I'm 65. I probably am not going to jump trades and become, say, for instance, a human cannonball at the circus, which was actually, I considered that a pretty good option when I was a kid. Just never, went in for any of the training required. But to go into a major transition in your life, you can change. I talked with a guy today. He'd had 5 different careers. He's a couple of years older than me. And this guy did all kinds of interesting things. You're not cemented into some kind of life call on your work. The call on your life is to be found by your maker and to seek him out in return. The call on your life is to find at your center. He's at your center. He's the one who invented your heart, and your heart was made for him. And when you're reconnecting with him and in him, that's what your calling is. That's what your calling is. To go find your Father and to walk in his path, and to it's the path of sobriety. It's the path of wholesomeness. It's the path of kind of conclusive sanity. Think about what's going on in the world today, and all the crazy politics, and all the corruption, and all the filth, and all the perversion, and what are they doing to those little kids, and just horror stuff. All of those have in common one thing: alienation from our Father. They want nothing to do with him. They won't even remember that they're his creatures. And the actions that come out of this, all the corruption and stuff, fundamentally, it's not even sane. Follow the path of sanity. Follow the path He blazes for you. He went the hard route. He took the curse upon him so that people like you and me, he is the hope of the hopeless. And in terms of the judgment to come, which is based on righteousness, perfection, and his view of justice, not one of us humans, not one, has a whisper of a chance of survival, much less, I'll keep you around, without his direct intervention, without the covering of the blood, without the broken body, without the sacrifice at Calvary. We have got squat. In fact, everything that we've got to present before him is only evidence against us. He is the way of life. He is the life himself. And so the calling on your life is not to a job, but it might be. The calling on to your life is to your Father, to the one who made you the way you are. And guess what? He made you the way you are because he wanted you that way. And you're just right. You're perfect, according to his estimate. But without the righteousness of another upon us, without the faith of Jesus going before us, none of us have a whisper of a chance in the judgment. And it was for that he came, because he knew and knows now that judgment is coming. This evil will not go on forever. It has an expiration date. And one day it will end in fire and overthrow. And the great king, he will keep his children safe and he will guard them everlastingly. But for those who hate him wrongly and insanely so, there's a terrible end. And I wouldn't wish that on you today, friend. Come to Jesus because, well, let's face it, it's the sane thing to do. And go take a walk. Get around some natural stuff and relax. Get yourself something good to eat. And remember, you were called not to a job, not to an appointment. You were called to a position as a son, a child of God, an inheritor, a joint heir with Christ. Why? Because he's that good and better. I think I'm going to go downtown and do some errands. Give me something to do today. Might even get something to eat. You guys have a good day.